Hi guys, I'm about to go out and meet a friend at a bar pretty soon, and I thought I'd record another episode of the podcast. And today I wanted to talk about the concept of energy. And why did I mention that I'm going to go out and meet my friend at a bar? Well, basically when you go out and just do your normal day-to-day things and there happens to be this social element, what will happen is you'll end up desensitizing yourself to the situations. So you're going to desensitize yourself to beauty. And clearly some places are going to be better for desensitizing yourself to beauty than others. So for example, Sweden's a great place to talk to women because there are clearly a lot of attractive women, and you won't have this sense of the conversation being precious because there's an abundance that's built into the place. And this might not be the case in some geographical locations, and that would be one good reason to travel more if you kind of get this feeling that every single approach is precious and that your sense of well-being almost is dependent on how the conversation goes. On my website, I've got this concept of decision nodes, creating a comfortable space. And in terms of energy, the things that you say are going to help create this comfortable middle space that the woman can choose to come into. And for this concept to work, creating this comfortable space and making her feel comfortable, the energy is going to come about through your words, thoughts and actions being aligned. So your words, your thoughts and actions all need to be aligned. So this is a key part of having the right energy that's going to make her want to keep talking to you, because it's going to reveal whether you are actually being authentic. Because your authenticity is being who you say you are and having her sense that you're comfortable with yourself and with the situation. If you're saying one thing but your sub-communication is saying another thing, this is going to trigger her alarm bells. So this is why you need to have a lot of conversations and get comfortable developing your own style and ways of delivering things, your own style of communication that's based upon the basics. And the basics are the fundamental things that have to be in place, such as you need to be playful and you need to be comfortable doing the basics. Back in the day, the advice given to guys was you want to field test things. So test things at least 50 times and see if they actually work before you claim that they don't work. Because there's always this thing of, is it the concept that doesn't work or is it the fact that you can't make it work? So it's pretty important to go out and test things and test them enough times so that you don't get into these weird conversations with other guys about, do you think this works? Do you think that works? Do you not think it works? Because it's all kind of hypothetical what ifs. So you want to go out there and get the first-hand experience, and this is going to help you develop this energy naturally. I mean, when we talk about things like energy, it's kind of nebulous. What does energy actually even mean? And I try to kind of hint at what it is. The concept of words, thoughts and actions being aligned. It's different to telling someone to say this, do this. It's very much something that has to come from within you. So you have to basically be at peace with yourself and be at peace with what you're doing. And, you know, just like a professional sports athlete might have their own preferences, ways of doing things, you're going to develop your own ways of doing things. But there is such a thing as baseline, basic technique. So you can never quite get away from that. But this is where, you know, being out in the field and trying things for yourself is so key, because you're going to have to really give it a go and drop a few things but then stick to a few other things, or try and negotiate a particular thing and try a different variation of it. This similar concept, you know, people who go to the gym, you might have one guy who does the same exercise as another guy, but he does it slightly differently. So you'll see this even amongst the Mr. Olympias. They might give tutorials on how to do a particular exercise, and then they might have different adjustments that they make or things that they claim, such as the position of the elbows doesn't matter or the position of the elbows does matter. And it's going to be kind of depending on what their own body is like and what their limbs look like and the way it feels to them, and if they get enough contraction when they do it a particular way. And that's what you're going to have to try and figure out for yourself, is when I say this, does it make me feel this? So the energy part of this is, how does it make you feel? And how are you then expressing this? Because this is what the girl receives. And it's not about what you actually said, it's about the energy behind what you said. So again, this is quite a nebulous term, so I'm going to try and break it down a bit more. You want to have positive enthusiasm. Always show genuine interest in the person that you're talking to if you are genuinely interested. This is a concept that I took from Dale Carnegie. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Maybe it's Dale Carnegie. There's this concept of finding out about another person. And sure, what might happen is just because a girl is pretty, she might not be that interesting, and then it's going to be very hard to fake interest. If you look at it through this lens of she needs to be interesting to you for you to want to talk to her, it's actually going to help you, because it's going to make you stop thinking of every time a girl doesn't want to speak to you, it's a rejection, because it won't be a rejection, because you might actually end up quote unquote rejecting girls based on the fact that she's just not very interesting, and then it doesn't really matter how pretty she is, how good looking she actually is, because this is just one of those things where two personalities have to come together, and there needs to be, I see it as a Venn diagram where her personality, your personality overlap, and then what's in the middle, the overlapping of the two personalities, that's where you have the chemistry, and you need to have this chemistry. And this all starts with having the right energy. So go in with positive enthusiasm, try to find out about her and be genuinely interested, because you were interested in the way that she looked initially. This will carry through, and then sure, she might not be interesting, and then you can drop it and say, look, it was nice to talk, but I need to go. But you need to give that a go. So if you just kind of discount the way that the girl looks, you imagine that you're wearing a blindfold, would you actually be interested in continuing the conversation? Would you actually want to keep on talking to the girl, assuming that you had no idea what she looked like? Would you consider it if she was interesting, or would you not consider it based on if she's not interesting? And keep in mind, you can't actually see her. So again, the words themselves, they mean nothing unless there's something behind the words. And this abundance mindset and desensitization to beauty will naturally lead to a thinking along the lines of, well, she's cute and everything, but what more does she have to offer? So you have to qualify women, and this qualification will come about more naturally as you think of this abundance mindset and desensitization as being important things that underpin your interactions. You want to qualify as naturally as possible, because your agenda isn't to not get rejected. That's not an agenda. An agenda that you might have is to go out and speak to some people, and if you happen to click, then great. If not, then no big deal. You're probing for this chemistry that I was talking about. And I think this concept of developing your own style and developing an energy that's an appropriate energy for flirting is to think of archetypes. Robert Greene has written a good book on archetype. I mean, the archetype that you're displaying is also going to affect what you might say, what you might not say, and the energy that's created. So you might be more of a dandy type, and then you would possibly not say things a certain way. Maybe you would be a bit more, not reserved, that's the wrong word, but you would maybe not be so overly dominant, but you would still be flirting, whereas another guy would be maybe a bit more belligerent. And they're two different archetypes. So you might have a guy who's in a gang, he's a biker, and it's almost expected that he's gonna have that style of energy, if that makes sense. So there needs to be this congruence. It's a bit like fashion as well. There needs to be a kind of congruence between what you're wearing and the way you're coming across. So keep that in mind and try to think about who you actually are, what your identity is, or at least the identity that you're trying to forge. So maybe you are like more of an artistic guy, maybe you can play that up. And if you are, don't know, ride a motorbike and you're in a gang, then just use that as your MO. The right kind of energy and developing the right kind of energy for your interactions is really important. And it's important to understand how you're going to go about this, and the fact that it's going to come down to you taking action and you developing this for yourself and by yourself. You are going to have to put in the work yourself. So you are going to have to think about things like this if you want to get good, basically. If you want to get effective at male to female flirting. If you'd like to find out more about me, then head over to my website, carlmagnus.com. That's Carl with a K and Magnus with a Z. I'm going to head out, go to the bar, and if there happens to be some interesting women there, then great. If not, then it's for another time. Take care.